So a couple weeks ago, I posted on my community tab an Ask Me Anything post and said that I would make this video here just to wrap up 2023. So I'm going to answer all the questions that you shared as well as a few other questions that I've gotten throughout the year. Let's get going. Okay, question number one, are there any vintage or collectible items that you consider always in demand? So I think that if you are looking for things to stock your booth or an online store, really your basic kind of utilitarian items that really fit in to kind of everyday use in the home or great staple home decor pieces are going to be winners. So a couple things that come to my mind are baskets, like great storage baskets. And I don't mean just like any thrift store basket that you can find, like the ones that are like the cheap ones from floral arrangements that people just throw out. I'm talking about nice quality baskets. People can always use baskets to corral items in their home. Good, pretty vintage plates and platters, I think, are always great to have. People are always breaking plates, right, and needing to replace some. Vintage art, people are always looking for ways to decorate their walls. Similarly, I think mirrors are great items to keep on hand. Wall art and mirrors are just always things that I can sell for sure. I usually also keep a steady supply of just vintage books in stock because people use those in their decor all the time. They use them to just create height in their displays, as risers, as fillers. Also greenery. I sell a lot of faux greenery. And if you want to know more about where I buy my faux greenery, I actually have a video right up here that you can check out. That is stuff that just does well for me consistently throughout the year. Question number two, what do I see trending for sales in 2024, especially smalls, or as someone else put it, hot collectibles and small items? I am personally seeing a push back into more primitive decor. Primitives weren't a thing for a while. You know, we were kind of shabby chic, which isn't really quite the same thing as primitive. And then we were kind of glam. You know, lots of metallics were popular. Silver plate, brass was popular. And I'm feeling like a push back towards primitives some. Not necessarily like country, that's not really what I'm saying, but specifically those kind of raw or light stained wood, or those kind of old kitchen utensils, crockery, stoneware, anything in kind of that cottage vibe. Old wooden cutting boards is doing well right now. I also think kitschy things are doing well, which is funny because it's kind of a totally different like decor scheme, but kitschy little figurines. I've been selling bird figurine statues like crazy. I found this funky dog and cat statue recently that I think I'm going to be able to sell without any problem. This kind of fun, whimsical stuff that's got some color, that's kind of bright. I think those things are doing well. And the good news is you can still find a lot of it out there for pretty affordable. All right, this is a great question from Susan. She said, how would you suggest handling hundreds of items that I have to sell? I'm basically overwhelmed because I don't have a lot of storage space. Should I try to organize them by similar items? So Susan, you are having a problem that so many of us resellers have, which is we just have so much stuff. So first off, I'm going to tell you that you may need to consider buying less items. If you're overwhelmed by how much you have, the start of that problem is probably that you're buying too much. If you want to dig into that idea a little bit more and you missed this video, I'm going to put it right up here for you to go check out, because I've always been a proponent of only buying the inventory that you actually need to kind of get you through your average month. And this is why. If you have too much sitting around, it does get overwhelming. And what happens when you're overwhelmed? If you're like me, then you just procrastinate, right? And you just don't do it. You don't photograph it, you don't list it, you don't tag it, you don't clean it, you forget what you paid for it, so you don't really know how to price it, and then it just sits there and it's just money that you've put in a box in your garage. That would be step number one, is I would encourage you to sell what you have before you get more. If you have hundreds of items and you're not selling hundreds of items a month, then you don't need that many. How many items on average are you selling a month? Then that's about what you need to be purchasing. If you sell 40 items a month on average, then you need to purchase 40 to 50 items a month to maintain your stock levels. I hope that makes sense. Number 2, I would, as soon as something gets home, write it down, like put it, however you're managing your inventory, write down what you paid for it, like wipe it up, give it just a preliminary kind of cleanup. And yes, find a place, some shelving where you can store your stuff. I wouldn't put things in bins because that's just how stuff gets forgotten. And so it comes into your house and you get it categorized, maybe even priced, and it's out on a shelf with other things that kind of fit, if it's glassware, if it's art, if it's baskets, decor, whatever. So it can get into the flow of the items that you're selling. So I have just a very basic inventory sheet that I keep. I don't do my inventory on a computer. I'm just an old school paper and pen kind of gal. You could do the date that you bought it, what it is, what you paid for it, what you're selling it for, and then a blank spot to mark when it's sold. It's just very simple. It's not fancy. I'm preaching this to myself too, because I did a little bit of shopping and it's all sitting in the bag in the garage. And every day that it sits there is a little bit more that I kind of forget what it is and I lose the motivation to deal with it. So that's what I should have done. I should not have left it in the garage, brought it inside, got my receipt out immediately, wrote it on my inventory sheet, wiped the cobwebs off, and put it upstairs in my shelving where the rest of my inventory is. So yes, I would say you have to start tackling some of it, but probably the biggest part of your problem is you just have too much. I think if you had less to deal with, then you would be able to manage what you have. So step 1 is for sure, just work through selling what you have before you go and buy more. All right, this question I really love and I'm excited to address it. How do you prioritize all the things in your life? Wife, mom, business owner, booths, shipping, paint, projects, church events, YouTube, etc. Do you have an assistant or just great time management? So I can tell you the answer to that question is not that I have great time management. I am very poor at managing my time. I do have a legitimate diagnosed case of adult ADD. And so my brain is usually kind of all over the place. And for a lot of creative people, that's kind of how we go. I have to put lots of reminders out for myself, and I have to give myself a lot of grace too. So to answer that question, though, I want to really dial in on this idea. When you watch this YouTube video, you watch me do what I do, or you watch other people on YouTube, or you're even looking at other booth owners, it's really hard to compare your life and someone else's and what you're able to produce and what someone else is able to produce. Because we are all living in what I like to think about is we all have a different size box. Personalities, abilities, talents, giftings, support systems, resources, time, right? All of those things are just vary. You may be a single parent. You may have a supportive spouse. You may have some health issues. You may have small children. You may have kids that are out of the house. You may be working a 9 to 5 and you're trying to do this on the side, right? All of us have different, we're living in different size boxes. And so my box may be very differently sized than your box. And my box has been different sizes over the course of my business. I've been doing this for 12 years. And when I started, I was 6 months pregnant with my 3rd kid. So my box was really small for a while. And I just worked on my business while they napped and when they went to bed at night. And then when my husband watched them for a little bit on a Saturday afternoon, I would take stuff up to the booth. Now my kids are 17, 15, and 11, and they leave for school at 8 o'clock in the morning and they're gone until 4. That's a huge chunk of time that I can work and spend on my business. I don't work another job. This is what I do. So now where I'm at right now, I work from 8 to 4 on my business pretty much every day, with the exception of a break in the middle of the day where I exercise. But that's just me. And that's where I'm at right now. That may not be you. To the viewer that asks this question, you may have different circumstances. And so I just encourage everybody to maximize out your own box, right? Whatever your life circumstances are, to do the best that you can with what you have. That's really all you can do. And when you're comparing yourself, especially to people that you don't know online, that you don't know their whole backstory, it's so easy to get discouraged and think, well, why can't I pull that off? And part of it is probably because you're just not them and they're not you. They may have so many more resources than you have. They may have so much more time than what you have, right? Learn what, your box, get comfortable with it, with the abilities, the resources that you have, and maximize that. I do treat this like a business. And so when it's time to work, I work on it. I don't squeeze it in with other things that I'm doing. It is just the idea of, if I want to see results in my antique booth, in my furniture painting, in my blogging, in my YouTube channel, then I have to set work hours for it. So I would say that, if you're trying to grow this, set some sort of work hours. Your work hours may only be 5 a week. That may be all you can pull off, but put them in there. These hours this week, I'm going to work on this business. Another question that I got, do I have any videos on how to start an online business or how to go about driving traffic to your online business? So I do have a video that talks about selling your vintage finds online using Etsy or Shopify. And I'll link that right up here. It doesn't really talk so much about how to drive traffic to your online business. So I'll give a short answer to that right here. I have always used blogs and social media to drive traffic to my online stores. I do like having your own personal online store that you own, your own little slice of the internet. I think that's great for the building of your brand. That's the place where you can really be in control of how everything looks, of how you interact with your customers. Your customers build a direct connection with you instead of like they just shop on Etsy and they happen to buy from your store and it's really Etsy that they're connected to. It's not so much you. That's why I like having my own shop. However, just because you open an online store, you're exactly right. It doesn't mean anybody's going to come. You have to drive traffic there. So in general, what I've tried to do over the years and what I'm trying to do with my new online store is you want to provide helpful content to people a couple of times, and then you try to sell something. So for me, that looks like, writing an article about the items that you're selling, or how to decorate with your vintage finds, or here's ways to, identify antique ironstone, right? Something that's helpful content, kind of in the vein of what you're selling. And you offer that and you offer that and you give people some things, and then you kind of build this audience, and then you can say, okay, here's something that I have for sale. If you have a Shopify store, then you can have in your Shopify store a blog also, where you can write those articles. It's just content that you're publishing. And then those articles can go out on Pinterest. You can send them out on an email list. You can post them to your social media. And again, it's just a way to offer helpful content to people so they build a connection to your brand. And then after a little bit of helpful content, then you let them know that you have these items for sale. And it's repeating that process over and over. That's the way it's always worked for me. That's how I've built that traffic. If you just show up and all you're doing is selling people, buy this from me, buy this from me, buy this from me, buy this from me, it's hard to get traction as a new online business. You really have to find some way for people to engage with you that isn't just salesy. If all you're ever doing is being salesy, it's gonna turn people off. So maybe you can start a YouTube channel and you can share about your finds on a YouTube channel, and that can be your helpful content. And then you can direct those people to your online store, right? Maybe that's something you could do. So blogging and social media, providing that helpful content, is how I've driven the traffic to both of my 2 online stores now. All right, my friend Diane asked over on Instagram what my best thrifted find ever. This one was a hard one to figure out because I've been doing this as a business for 12 years and gosh, for like my entire married life, probably 20. It's just, for fun. So I will say though, I think I'm gonna go with the German painting that I bought for $20 at Canton First Monday Trade Days probably 7 or 8 years ago in Texas. The lady that sold it to me was saying that it was her mother-in-law's, who was from Germany. She brought it over from Germany when she moved here in her 60s. So I think that this is a legit oil painting. There's so many things that I've really loved, but I think that's the one I'm gonna go with. Okay, wrapping up with a couple personal questions. I was asked, am I still doing CrossFit? So the answer to that is yes. If you missed my video about 10 months ago, I made a video about starting CrossFit in my 40s. And I know that not a lot of people on my channel have watched it, but just folks out in YouTube land have found it and watched it. And I've had some people ask, hey, it's been about a year. Could you update us? Are you still even doing this? And the answer is yes. My husband and I still go 3 to 4 times a week. And I would say that it's just kind of become the thing that we do now. Like, it's gotten to that point that we're the crazy people that go and do CrossFit. What I can tell you I've learned about that is that, like, it was so out of the ordinary for me to start. It was not, like, it wasn't a regular thing in our routine. We go at 11:30 in the middle of the day. So it, like, totally messed up our daily routine. I was not comfortable there. It was really, really hard. For the first like 6 months, I was pretty sure every other day that I was like, I'm not going to come back. After the 6-month mark, it just became part of what we do. And now it's been almost 2 years, and it would be hard for me to quit. So, moral of the story is, anytime you start something new, it's going to feel really weird and hard and just mess up your schedule for a while. But if you stick with it, then it will become just part of what you do. Okay, last question. This is a fun one. How do I do my hair? 2 years ago for Christmas, I was gifted a Dyson Airwrap hairdryer. And I will tell you that that thing has changed my life. So that is what I use for my hair. If you aren't familiar with it, it is expensive. I am not gonna lie, but I think it's totally worth it because I can dry and curl my hair in one step. Like, I wash it probably every 4 days. I let it go, and I will dry it with the Dyson Airwrap, and then it will stay that way. It takes out the frizzy and it will stay these loose curls. It will stay that way until I wash it again. So that's why I'm saying, for me, it's been completely worth it. I use it like twice a week, and I fix my hair once. And then if you need to touch it up here or there, you can. But it is like a one step, dry it, curl it, take out all the frizz, and it's really incredible. All right, that's it for my end of 2023 video. I hope that you guys enjoyed that. So I've got some plans for 2024. Looking forward to seeing you guys more in the new year.